And now, more of Phil's Gang on the Off the Wall Street Radio Network.
The heat was hot and the ground was dry, but the air was full of sound. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of.
I think we're seeing a trend both in courts and in arbitration panels giving money back to investors where banks have acted improperly. They failed to disclose material information. In the case with UBS, they lied about what they knew about Lehman, that it was a sinking ship, and sold it. Other banks, Merrill Lynch, Countrywide, are being hit by the courts. It's a good thing for investors.
This is attorney Jake Zamansky, and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay, terrific. How big a deal is this?
I think this is a very big deal. We have seen that since 2008, the banks, almost brought the economy to the brink of collapse. Investors lost their life savings, but the banks have rallied, but investors haven't until now when they started winning some of these cases.
Now, why is it judges instead of attorney generals or the treasury? Why aren't the attorney generals going out and slamming these guys, putting them in jail? What, it was like 2,800 CEOs or bankers went to jail during the SNL. We haven't had one.
I agree with you. I think that the regulators should be doing more. I think that the Justice Department should be bringing cases possibly against the Lehman executives and executives at other banks who I believe misled investors. Securities fraud is a crime, and I think a lot of these people should be behind bars.
Jake, I want to read something to you.
Sure.
Now, this is Senator Dow when he was the head of the banking committee. This was his job right here. Let me read it. As chairman, he's about protecting consumers and their investments, ensuring that investment in our nation is monitored and that ultimately Americans benefit from it, and keeping our economy on sound footing. Chairman Dow's responsibility is to focus on helping working families, protecting our nation's economic security. Now, let's take Fannie and Freddie. Now, they took all that housing debt, threw it in there, and it didn't even meet their own criteria. Why hasn't anybody held Dodd or Frank responsible, or Raines never went to jail? What's the problem here? Didn't they? I mean, they put all that debt in there, and they knew it wasn't even meeting their own criteria.
Politics is the problem. I think that people at Fannie and Freddie should have been examined for possible criminal violations. We have seen accounting fraud, people kicked out of Fannie, them paying huge fines, but yet no one has been held accountable.
Right.
My practice is representing investors down here on Wall Street. I know that the only thing that would send a message to Wall Street is if you threw some people in jail, like we did in the Enron situation. Mm-hmm. WorldCom, Bernie Ebbers is behind bars for the rest of his life. That would make a difference. To fine these guys millions of dollars, first of all, comes out of the shareholders' money. Right. It doesn't mean anything. So I think we really have to prosecute some of these Wall Street criminals.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say $156 million for J.P. Morgan is not a deterrent. Do you agree?
That's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
I mean, they make more in one day than mine was. So I think that, you have to examine whether these senior executives knew in the subprime crisis and the credit crisis that they were misleading investors. Citigroup, you saw the stock go from 60 to almost $1, $2 a share. Bear Stearns collapsed. Where are the prosecutions? I think that there's a lack of political will at the federal and the state level. It's only attorneys representing investors that have gotten any money back.
And it's interesting you just brought up about the bank stocks. If you go back to February 2009, when these banks were pretty much bust, and within 4 weeks these stocks went almost 400% because they changed the accounting rules for these banks. I mean, when you go and look at these banks right now, that when they rallied 400% and 300%, my God, why isn't anybody going in and looking at? Wait a minute, how did this happen? I mean, when it's a house of cards. I mean, you can't rally these banks 400% in a few weeks, and then since then we had QE1, QE2, as you know. I mean, there's got to be more corruption, more problems with these banks.
I think it really is a house of cards. That's an expression that was used about Bear Stearns.
Uh-huh.
A lot of these banks were leveraged 30 to 1. For every dollar in equity, they had $30 in loans. Nobody really knew that. They were taking tremendous risk because on a short-term basis, if they're big profits that quarter or that year, the managers get these multi-million-dollar bonuses. They don't give a damn at what happens later on, and it's the public that gets stuck holding the bag.
Now, let's talk about Countrywide now. That always amazed me. Mazzillo, he gets off scot-free. I know they have to pay $700 million back, but I think he's in Switzerland in his vacation home or something. I mean, is it because we have the people from Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, they're all working now in Treasury? Is that one of the reasons why we can't get guys like him?
A lot of people say that we call it government sacks down here. That everybody is former Goldman executives, Hank Paulson, and all the way down. Countrywide, Mazzillo must be laughing at all of us.
Yeah.
He didn't even pay a slap on the wrist. That guy made so much money, and nothing came out of his pocket. He made the money. He's laughing at everybody else. I think the federal government should be ashamed of itself for what they did there. Mm-hmm. And to settle with the shareholders, that's nice. They're giving back some of the money they took. That's not fair.
Well, I want you, again, congratulations. Keep up the great work because, man, you're our hero. About time somebody went after these guys and got some money from them.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing that with us, and go get them.
I will.
Go get him. Okay. There you go. You got Attorney Zamansky. What a great guy. I mean, this guy really is getting money back for his clients. Isn't that terrific? We'll be back right after this break. Phil's Gang. Phil Grande.
You're listening to Phil's Gang on the Off the Wall Street Radio Network. We'll have more in just minutes.